Giving harsh punishment towards those gamblers, wishing they could suddenly be deterrent, won't solve any root cause of the problem, and at worst, making the chance for them to reoffend much more massive. We don't want this. Set up, what is the pain mean to talk about? A. This is the household motion, meaning that this is a policy motion that takes the perspective of the government. Our burden is to prove 1. Why the status quo alternative is immoral and not enough, but second, why we can prevent from further reoffense. But B. How the manifestation of social service and skill training that we will offer. 1. Social service under our side serves as an incentive to rehabilitate gambling offenders and help them to integrate in society. This includes psychological counseling to tackle the addiction, family therapy to promote acceptance and support from their relatives, or give guarantee cards or public clarification media to actually show that these kind of offenders have been treated and no longer a risk in society. But second, skill training might be formed like job readiness program, vocational training by lobbying non-profit organization to make these offenders can do productive work during the arresting time, giving them financial literacy and other employability skills so these offenders can survive after the arresting time. But thirdly, this offer will also be given both still proportional based on their backgrounds, i.e. how rich skill offenders might have much more stronger psychological rehab and how those low class unskilled will be given much more training. Or if there are any recidivism, the amount of the therapy will be much more longer than the usual offenders. But first argument then, why status quo alternative is unjust? Let's identify what's the problem in status quo. I think that most gambling offenders are usually people that most of the time are those low middle class people that hard to find proper jobs and subconsciously choose to be a player or admin of the gambling because government failed to fulfill their promise of sufficient job field or provide them proper skill to actually do cook or crafting so that they could have a small business to be financially independent. Or B, the victim of the illegal website or app creator because government failed to actually create strong law enforcement or cyber security body that failed to do their responsibility to block or supervise this law execution because they just simply corrupt. But or C, underprivileged people that didn't exposure to socialization of what activities considered as gambling and hard to identify them because government also failed to provide this education in school or general society as a whole. Or D, government also failed to provide accessible safe coping mechanism or therapy for people that wanted to seek happiness or thrilling activities, for example. But all of this prove to you that how most of the gambling offenders are the victim of the government to actually fulfill their responsibility. Therefore, as the reparation, government must provide offenders help towards the root of the problem as to why they did the crime from the get-go and not just simply punish them with a long sentence or death penalty because that is not proportional to what pushed them to do so at the beginning. At worst, the moment government choose to simply put them in jail without doing anything, they just simply wash their hand and run from their moral responsibility to actually protect their citizen as a whole and cherry pick who they want to protect. This is immoral. Therefore, under our side of the house, we at least push the government to actually repair their responsibility by not demonizing these gambling offenders by providing them what they actually need from the beginning. But come to my second argument then. Why we at least lessen the chance for offenders to reoffense? First, let's talk about the context of the reoffenders. But second, I will talk about the society protection. One, for the offenders on itself. At least we will minimize the incentive that make these kind of offenders wanted to commit the crime from the get-go. Because they won't be that stigmatized in the society because at least under our side of the house, society will know that these people have been rehabilitated. They have proper skill to seek for a job or have been recruited from the NGO that have recruited them before. So at least there will be much more society trust towards them because they won't perceive them as a prisoner that did nothing or treated anything by the government in the prison time. This is better because at least they can gain much more love and trust from the people after the resting time. Comparatively, when they are not accepted in society, they will most likely find new crime channel that will accept them no matter what it is and push for a more reoffend. But because at least we're providing vocational training or job skills, it will increase the employability for them. We will reducing financial pressure that often trigger gambling to actually relapse. Or C, we give them socialization and education on when or where to seek for safer option of drill or coping mechanism or therapy when they feel stressed instead of go to the gambling because they will be habituated to do this during the arresting time rather than to go to the gambling. But lastly, let's talk about social protection. Why we at least better? Because at least under our side we push for a more productive probation officer, for example, or probably those social workers or community mentors during this kind of police organization to actually regularly check and on those kind of offenders progress in society because they know they are much more freely under our side. Or B, even if there still exists trade-off that people will perceive this crime as less dangerous and a lot of people not afraid of the gamble, at least one, I less likely to do so because I think they don't want to their CV or self-image to be bad because they label as ex-prisoners. Or B, I think it's fine because at least under our side of the house, the moment there are massive people do this crime, we give more public pressure to actually demand for betterment of gambling enforcement, push for a more proper job field, or there's more urge for the government to actually protect the society by fixing the systemic problem with their limited resources that they have, rather than blaming society for their own mistake. That's why we propose.